Imagine a world where every rustle of leaves carries a secret message, where rivers hold ancient secrets, and in the depths of the forests dwell beings whose names we have long forgotten. This is the world that opens up before us when we plunge into the astonishing universe of Slavic mythology. Here, a person did not merely exist alongside nature. They were an integral part of it, hearing its voice, understanding its language, and living in harmony with its laws. Today, we embark on a journey through this mysterious realm, where gods descended to earth, where spirits guarded the hearth, and where ancient rituals helped maintain the balance between light and darkness. Did you know that the Slavs envisioned the cosmos as a gigantic tree, whose roots delve into the underworld, trunk penetrates the world of humans, and crown reaches the heavenly halls? This is not just a beautiful metaphor. It is a whole philosophy that defined the lives of our ancestors. They believed in the existence of three worlds: Prav, the realm of gods and higher laws; Javi, the world of humans and living nature; and Navi, the mysterious space where the souls of the deceased and ancient spirits reside. Each of these worlds was connected to the others by thousands of invisible threads, and a person could travel between them through special rituals and ceremonies. At the very beginning of time, when there was no sun, nor earth, nor water, there existed only an endless void filled with primordial power. It was then that Rod awoke, the first deity who brought forth all that exists. He separated light from darkness, created water and solid ground, and stretched a heavenly dome over the earth. However, the world remained cold and motionless until Rod gave birth to other gods, each destined to fill the created space with their unique power and meaning. Thus began the story of the world we know today. When thunder rumbled over the world and lightning flashed, the Slavs saw not just a natural phenomenon, but the manifestation of the power of Perun, the mighty thunderer, protector of warriors and defender of truth. He was envisioned as a powerful warrior with a silver beard, wielding a sacred axe forged by Svarog himself. Perun did not merely command the storm. He delivered judgment, protected the honest, and punished the liars. Warriors called upon him for strength before battle, princes sought his blessing, and ordinary people believed that his lightning cleansed the world from evil and impurity. Did you know that in Slavic tradition there existed a special godsmith who created the very foundation of the universe? Svarog, the celestial smith whose hammer forged the laws of the cosmos. He taught people to mine and process metals, build houses, and create tools. But most importantly, he established the first laws by which the world should live. His fire burned not only in the forge, but also in every household hearth, and the sound of his hammer could be heard in the rumble of thunder. Svarog became a symbol of order, craftsmanship, and the creative power that transforms chaos into harmony. While Perun ruled the skies, the underworld and secret knowledge were governed by Veles, a mysterious and wise god, protector of livestock, trade, and magic. His image was as changeable as autumn fog. Sometimes he appeared as a wise old man with a long beard, other times as a mighty beast, or even as a twisting serpent. Veles knew the secrets of herbs and spells, held the keys to the otherworld, and taught wisdom through trials. An eternal opposition existed between him and Perun, much like the dance of light and shadow, without which the world could not exist. When the first rays of the sun touched the earth, the Slavs greeted Dajdbog, the giver of warmth and light, patron of fertility and prosperity. He did not simply illuminate the world, he granted life to all living things, filled fields and forests with strength, and warmed the hearts of people. Each morning, Dazbog rode out in his golden chariot to traverse the sky, and in the evening descended to the underworld, to return in the morning and gift the world with light again. His blessing was equal for all, but only those who could value nature's gifts and live in accordance with its laws received it. Spring for the Slavs was a time of special magic, when nature awoke not only, but also the hearts of people. This awakening was governed by Yarlo, a young and passionate god, whose energy flowed in every spring brook, in every blooming flower. He appeared when the earth still slept under a blanket of snow, and with his warm breath awakened it to life. Yarilo was the god not only of fertility, but also of youthful love, that first passion which makes hearts beat faster and souls reach for the skies. When clouds gathered over the fields, ready to pour down life-giving rain, the Slavs knew it was Mokosh, the great goddess of fate and female power, weaving her invisible threads. She was the guardian of women's secrets, the patroness of handiwork and the household. In her hands lay the threads of the destinies of all people. She could weave a happy fate or entangle a life's path. Mokosh was not cruel, but demanded respect for herself and for the land she protected. Love and beauty in the Slavic pantheon had special protectresses, Lada and her daughter, Lele. While Lada embodied mature, wise love, strong as an ancient oak, Lele was the goddess of first love, the spring tremor of the heart. They were called upon by girls dreaming of a happy marriage, young wives wishing to maintain love in the family, and mothers praying for protection for their children. Their festivals were filled with songs, round dances, and ancient rituals that helped find one's other half. The world of the Slavs was inhabited not only by great gods, but also by a multitude of spirits, each responsible for their part of the universe. In every home lived a domovoi, an invisible guardian of the hearth, who could either help the owners or punish them for disrespecting the home. In the woods, the Leishi, lord of the thicket, could lead a traveler deep into the forest or guide them back home. The Vodianoi ruled the rivers and lakes, while the Rusalki, his beautiful and dangerous helpers, could lure an unwary traveler into deep waters. The dark side of the Slavic world was populated by beings that were feared and from whom people protected themselves with spells and charms. The Besi, spirits of chaos and destruction, could possess people, driving them to commit evil deeds. The Upiri, souls of those who died an improper death, emerged from their graves at night in search of living blood. The Cherti, unlike straightforward Besi, were cunning and treacherous. They made deals with humans, promising wealth and power, but always demanding something more valuable in return: the soul itself. The year for the Slavs was not simply a sequence of days and months, but a living being that passed through specific stages. Each of these stages was marked by special festivals that helped maintain harmony between the world of people and the world of spirits. The winter solstice, the time of Kolyada, when the new sun is born, was celebrated with noisy festivities and rituals aimed at helping the light defeat darkness. Maslenitsa bid farewell to winter and welcomed spring with blinis, symbols of the sun, and cheerful games that awakened nature from its slumber. The most magical time of year was considered to be the night of Kupala, when the boundaries between worlds thinned and nature revealed its secrets. On this night, healing herbs were gathered, people jumped over bonfires for purification, and the fern flower was sought, which, according to legend, could reveal all the secrets of the world to a person. Girls wove wreaths and sent them floating on the water to divine their fate, while the youth danced in circles until dawn. It was believed that on this night, even trees could move from place to place, and the water in the rivers became healing. A special place in the Slavic worldview was occupied by the Day of the Ancestors, a time for remembering the ancestors when the boundary between the world of the living and the dead became especially thin. On this day, the souls of deceased relatives could visit their homes, and offerings were left for them on the table. Saunas were heated, and clean towels were laid out. It was believed that ancestors not only watched over their descendants, but also actively participated in their lives, helping with advice through dreams and signs, protecting them from misfortunes and guiding them on the right path. In the Slavic view, fate was not something immutable. It could be divined through fortune-telling and even attempted to be changed through special rituals. Divinations were conducted on specific days of the year when the future partially unveiled itself. The most powerful time was Sviatki, the 12 days after the winter solstice. Girls would divine their future spouses, landowners would focus on the harvest, and warriors on victories in battles. Each divination was accompanied by special spells to protect the diviner from dark forces. Spells were a special form of communication with the world of spirits and gods. They crystallized the centuries-old wisdom of the people, their understanding of the universe's structure. There were spells for every situation, from illness and the evil eye, to luck in business and love, and protection of home and livestock. Spells pronounced at dawn or midnight, during the waning or waxing moon, had particular power. Each word in a spell had its meaning, and the order could not be changed. When Christianity came to Rus, it could not completely displace the ancient beliefs. Instead, an amazing fusion of the two traditions occurred, giving rise to a unique phenomenon: double faith. The old gods did not disappear, but transformed into Christian saints. Perun became associated with the prophet Elijah, Veles with Samblaze, the protector of cattle, and Mokosh transformed into the image of Saint Paraskeva. The ancient celebrations received new names and Christian interpretations, but retained their original essence. The process of Christianization of Rus was long and ambiguous. The official baptism under Prince Vladimir in 988 was just the start of a long journey. In cities, the new faith took root more quickly, while in remote villages, people remained loyal to the old gods for much longer. Pagan shrines were destroyed, and churches were built in their place. But the folk memory preserved the ancient rituals and beliefs, passing them down from generation to generation through tales, songs, and customs. Surprisingly, many Slavic traditions are still alive today, even though we don't always recognize their ancient origins. When we color eggs at Easter, or bake blinis for Maslenitsa, when we tie ribbons on birches or toss coins into water for luck, we are repeating actions performed by our ancestors thousands of years ago. These customs, having survived through the centuries, have preserved their magical power, continuing to connect us with the wisdom of the ancient Slavs. In the modern world, where technology has replaced magic and skyscrapers prop up the sky instead of the world tree, Slavic mythology continues to be a source of inspiration and wisdom. It reminds us of the need to live in harmony with nature, respect our ancestors, and maintain balance among the various forces of the universe. In each of us lives a fragment of that ancient faith, that understanding of a world where everything is interconnected and filled with deep meaning. The magical rituals of the Slavs were inextricably linked to the natural cycles and the agricultural calendar. Each significant action, from sowing to harvesting, was accompanied by special rituals designed to ensure well-being and protection from evil forces. The first sheaf was harvested in a special way and stored until the next year as a protective charm, while the last sheaf was adorned as a doll, symbolizing the spirit of the field, and was carried into the village with songs in gratitude for the generous gifts. Trees played a special role in the lives of the Slavs, each possessing its own character and magical power. The oak was considered the sacred tree of Perun and a symbol of male strength. The birch was associated with female energy and spring renewal. The rowan protected against evil spirits, and the linden aided in matters of love. People knew when and how to properly address each tree for help, what offerings to make, and which spells to recite. In the world of Slavic beliefs, even ordinary household items took on magical significance. The stove was not merely a place for cooking, but the centerpiece of the home, connecting the world of humans with the world of spirits. The broom used to sweep the hut could cleanse the space of negative energy or sweep away happiness if used improperly. The threshold was considered the boundary between one's own space and that of others, through which one should not greet each other or pass items. Slavic magic knew many ways of protection from evil forces. Patterns on clothing and household items were not just decorations, but authentic charms, each element carrying its own significance. The color red was considered protective, thus often used in the embroidery of important parts of clothing. Salt, honey, and bread possessed purifying power, and were used in various rituals. Even the custom of tying a red thread around the wrist for protection against the evil eye has made it to our days. Water in Slavic beliefs had special power, especially if taken from certain sources or at specific times. Morning dew was considered curative and rejuvenating. Rainwater collected during a thunderstorm was believed to hold the power of Perun, while water drawn from 7 different sources at dawn was used in the strongest spells. There was even a special ritual of washing away footprints. When one needed to protect themselves from someone's negative influence, that person's footprints were poured with water. Fire was revered as a living entity capable of purifying the space from evil spirits and negative energy. Bonfires ignited on specific days of the year were considered especially powerful. People jumped over them for purification and protection from diseases, casting off old belongings to rid themselves of unnecessary things. Even the custom of blowing out candles on one's birthday and making a wish has roots in ancient Slavic beliefs, where fire was considered the mediator between the world of humans and the world of spirits. Special attention was paid to dreams, believed to be messages from another world. There were specific spells for prophetic dreams that were read before sleeping, as well as special rules for interpreting what was seen. It was believed that the souls of deceased relatives could visit in dreams to warn of upcoming events or give advice. Dreams seen on specific days of the year or in special places were considered particularly significant and required careful interpretation. Slavic mythology knew many ways of predicting the future, not limited to just dreams and fortune-telling. Natural phenomena, animal behavior, patterns formed by fallen leaves or melted wax. Everything could become a source of information for those who knew how to read these signs. Predictions connected to the birth of children were especially important, as they determined the future fate and purpose of the newborn. Wedding rituals among the Slavs represented a complex intertwining of magical actions aimed at protecting the newlyweds and ensuring their happy life together. Each stage of the wedding, from matchmaking to the first wedding night, was accompanied by special rituals. The bride was not sold just for the sake of it, but to confuse evil spirits. Her braid was unraveled with special songs to untangle her former life, and the young couple would walk around their new home in a clockwise direction, creating a protective circle. The birth of a child was also surrounded by numerous magical actions and prohibitions. A pregnant woman was forbidden to cut her hair, look at a fire or an eclipse, lest she harm the future child. During childbirth, all locks in the house were opened, and all knots were untied to facilitate the baby's coming into the world. The placenta was buried under a fruit tree to ensure the child would grow healthy and strong, and the umbilical cord was kept as a powerful protective talisman. Healing practices among the Slavs were based on a deep understanding of nature and its hidden powers. Herbalists not only knew the medicinal properties of plants, but also the timing of their harvest and the correct methods of preparing decoctions and ointments. Each remedy was accompanied by a special spell that enhanced its effect. It was believed that illnesses could be caused by natural factors, as well as by the influence of evil spirits. Thus, treatment always included both physical and spiritual methods. Music and dance were an integral part of magical rituals. Specific rhythms of drums and flutes could induce trance, helping shamans travel between worlds. Round dances were not simply entertainment. They were a way to create a magical circle where the participants' energy concentrated. Songs contained ancient spells disguised as simple words, and specific dance movements helped establish connections with the powers of nature. Blacksmithing was considered not just a craft, but a true magical art. Blacksmiths, like their patron Svarog, knew how to control fire and metal, creating not only weapons and tools, but also amulets of special power. It was believed that metal that had passed through fire and water acquired the ability to protect against evil spirits. Thus, an iron object was placed in a baby's cradle, while protection against the evil eye was ensured by pinning a needle to clothing. A special place in Slavic tradition was occupied by initiation rituals, transitional rites marking important stages in a person's life. Adolescents underwent tests demonstrating their readiness to enter adulthood. Boys showcased strength and hunting skills, while girls displayed their ability to manage a household and knowledge of feminine magic. These rituals were often held in special places of power, in forests, by water, or on hilltops where the boundary between worlds was particularly thin. Slavic Volkvi were not merely priests, but custodians of ancient knowledge about the structure of the world. They could read the signs of nature, communicate with spirits, conduct complex rituals, and maintain balance between various forces. Their training lasted many years and involved not only memorizing spells and rituals, but also a deep understanding of interconnections within nature, knowledge of the medicinal properties of plants, and the ability to predict weather and natural phenomena. In the Slavic view, death was not the end of existence, but a transition to another form of being. Funeral rites were designed to help the soul of the deceased find its path in the afterlife and attain peace there. The deceased was provided with everything necessary for the journey: food, clothing, and personal belongings. Special mourning songs helped the soul detach from the body and find its way to the ancestors, while memorial rituals maintained a connection between the living and the dead. The calendar holidays of the Slavs formed a complex system where each event held its own significance and place in the annual cycle. The spring festivities were aimed at awakening nature and invoking fertility. The summer ones focused on gathering strength and protecting the harvest. The autumn ones centered on gathering and conserving nature's gifts. And the winter ones were about maintaining life energy during nature's rest period. Each holiday was accompanied by special rituals, songs, dances, and ritual foods. Slavic cosmology represented the world as a multi-layered structure, where each layer had its own inhabitants and laws. Yav, the world of humans; Prav, the world of gods and higher laws; and Navi, the world of spirits and deceased ancestors, were interconnected by invisible threads. A person could travel between these worlds in special states, in dreams, in trances, or during special rituals. This understanding of the universe's structure was reflected in ornaments, patterns, and symbols, which adorned clothing, homes, and household items. The magic of numbers played an important role in Slavic beliefs. Numbers like 3, 7, 9, and 12 were given special significance. 3 symbolized the main worlds, Jav, Prav, and Navi. 7 represented the number of celestial spheres. 9 signified divine perfection, and 12 corresponded to the months of the year. These numbers defined the structure of many rituals. For example, spells were often repeated 3 times. Medicinal herbs were gathered on the 7th day after the full moon, and important ceremonies were conducted on the 9th day of the month. Imagine an ancient Slav who could talk to the wind and understand the language of trees. Such extraordinary abilities were not uncommon in those times when everyone learned from birth to read the signs of nature and interact with the invisible forces surrounding them. Did you know that even an ordinary house cat was considered by the Slavs to be a creature capable of seeing spirits and protecting the home from dark forces? These mysterious animals held a special place in Slavic mythology. It was believed that cats could traverse between worlds and warn their owners of danger, and their purring had healing powers. Incredible as it may seem, the ancient Slavs knew the secrets of manipulating the weather. Special people known as cloud drivers could divert hail clouds from crops and summon rain during droughts. They used specific spells, rituals, and even special musical instruments to communicate with the elements of nature. Just imagine, in the deep thicket of an ancient forest, where even sunlight barely breaks through the treetops, there existed secret places of power. Here, the Volk-V held their most important rituals, communicated with the spirits of nature, and taught their successors. These sacred groves were so powerful that even an unwary traveler could feel their unique energy. Few know, but the Slavic masters possessed the secret of creating singing decorations. Bell charms and pendants crafted in a special way not only made a pleasant sound, their resonance could repel evil spirits and attract good fortune. Each such amulet was tuned to a specific frequency, harmonizing with the natural rhythms. Have you ever wondered why the Slavs loved honey so much? This golden nectar was considered not just a delicacy, but a sacred gift from the gods. Bees, according to Slavic beliefs, were messengers of the higher powers, and honey had the ability to heal not only the body, but also the soul. Honey gathered on specific days of the year, or from particular plants, was especially valued. Astonishingly, our ancestors could create real sound maps of the terrain. They knew how to determine the location of underground waters, voids, and even mineral deposits by the reflection of sounds. Specific chants and rhythmic strikes helped them feel the earth and find the most favorable spots for wells, homes, and sanctuaries. You'll be surprised to learn that the ancient Slavs created a complex system of color magic, where each shade held its specific meaning and power. The color red was considered a symbol of life and protection. White represented purity and connection to the higher powers. Black signified wisdom from the ancestors and secret knowledge, and green stood for natural forces and growth. At the very heart of Slavic beliefs lay the extraordinary practice of prophetic dreaming. Experienced shamans could deliberately enter a special state between sleep and wakefulness, gaining access to ancient knowledge and communicating with the spirits of the ancestors. For this, specific herbal mixtures, certain sleeping postures, and special spells were used. Can you imagine that the ordinary Russian bath was not just a place for cleansing the body, but a true temple of transformation? The bathing rituals of the Slavs included complex rites for purifying the soul, healing ailments, and even changing destiny. It was believed that in a properly heated bath, one could wash off curses, illnesses, and misfortunes. The mysterious world of Slavic patterns held a true code of the universe. Every element of the ornament was not merely a decoration, but a part of a complex, magical message. Rhombuses represented fertility, spirals signified the movement of the sun and the passage of time, and wavy lines represented the connection between worlds. The ability to compose and read these patterns correctly was passed down from generation to generation. It's amazing, but Slavic healers knew how to use the power of storms to create particularly powerful remedies. Herbs collected during a thunderstorm were considered filled with the energy of Perun, and water charged by lightning was used to treat the gravest ailments. There were even special vessels for collecting storm water, which were buried in the ground until their next use. Few know that the Slavs possessed the art of creating living, protective dolls. These dolls were made without the use of needles or scissors by twisting and tying cloth. During the creation process, a specific program was laid into the doll to protect the home, attract abundance, or assist in childbirth. It was believed that such dolls had their own character and could even warn their owners of danger. The secret art of Slavic sorcerers included the ability to manipulate time. No, they could not travel to the past or future, but they knew the secrets of stretching and compressing time, could create special places where time flowed differently, and applied this knowledge in important rituals. Some of these techniques are said to have survived to this day through the practices of folk healers. Have you ever thought that the Slavic pantheon of gods resembled a complex family saga? Unlike Greek mythology, where gods often quarreled among themselves, the Slavic deities represented a harmonious system where each was responsible for their sphere of the universe. Mighty Rod, the creator of the universe, stood at the head of all beings. Imagine the power capable of creating worlds with a single breath. All other gods descended from him, and even the word nature holds within it a memory of him. His female aspect was Rozhanica, representing the eternal feminine principle and the very fate itself. It's surprising, but Perun was not always the chief god of the Slavic pantheon. This thunderer, armed with lightning and an axe, achieved his supremacy only with the development of military bands. His cult was particularly strong among warriors who swore their weapons before his statues and believed that after dying in battle, they would join his heavenly company. Did you know that Veles was not just a cattle god, as he is often called? This wise patron of magic, poetry, and trade possessed the ability to travel between worlds. He was often depicted as a serpent, a symbol of wisdom and hidden knowledge. It was believed that it was Veles who taught people writing, music, and healing. The wonderful Mokosh, the only goddess whose idol stood alongside male deities in the Kiev pantheon, spun the threads of fate and watched over the maintenance of cosmic order. Her assistants were Dola and Nadola, who determined whether a person's fate would be fortunate or unfortunate. Women especially revered Mokosh, turning to her for help in crafting and domestic tasks. The mysterious Svarog, the heavenly smith and father of fire, taught people to extract and process metals. It was said that every spark from his hammer was a tiny star, and the northern lights were reflections of his heavenly forge. His son, Svarozhich Dajdbog, crossed the sky daily in a golden chariot, bringing light and warmth to the world. Few know, but Mokosh, the goddess of moisture and female destiny, was connected to underground waters and caves. In her honor, Slavic women held secret female festivities during which special rituals were conducted, passed down from mother to daughter. It was believed that she could bless a woman with a special magical power on certain days of the year. Strybog, the Lord of Winds, held particular significance for sailors and farmers. His grandsons, the wild winds, scattered seeds across fields, brought rain, and cleared the clouds. Special rituals dedicated to Strybog were performed on high hills and open spaces. Where his power was felt most strongly, the ancient Slavs believed that the world was permeated with secret signs and symbols, each carrying special power. The swastika kolovrat, a rotating solar symbol, represented the eternal movement of life and the four cardinal directions. The six-pointed star, Alatir, represented the intersection of all worlds and was considered a source of power and wisdom. The spiral symbolized the development and evolution of the soul, as well as the cycles of nature. A rhombus with a point inside symbolized a sown field and fertility, and, incredible as it seems, there were more than 100 different protective symbols in Slavic tradition. The thunder sign protected against lightning and invoked the power of Perun. Rod symbol, a vertical line with branching strokes, represented the connection between generations and divine protection. The sign of Veles, a bear paw, conferred wisdom and protection. Solar symbols, circles, crosses in a circle, rosettes attracted luck and prosperity. Imagine a tree where each branch has a sacred meaning. The world tree among the Slavs connected three worlds. The roots went into Navi, the underworld. The trunk stood in Javi, the world of humans, and the crown reached Prav, the world of gods. On its branches sat sacred birds. At the top, falcons and eagles, messengers of the gods. In the middle, bees and doves, symbols of hard work and love. At the roots, prophetic crows, guides to the world of the dead. The magical alphabet of the Slavs included strokes and cuts, special signs that conveyed information and possessed magical power. The rune Bereginia protected the home and family. Chasha attracted abundance. Sila granted strength and endurance. Vider aided in journeys. Molnia imbued energy. Solnts brought luck and joy. The color symbolism of the Slavs was incredibly rich. Red meant life and protection against evil. White embodied purity and connection with the gods. Black represented fertility and the wisdom of ancestors. Green stood for natural forces and growth. Blue represented celestial protection and spirituality. Yellow denoted solar energy and wealth, and brown indicated connection with the earth and stability. Animals in Slavic tradition carried deep symbolic meaning. The bear was seen as the embodiment of Veles and a symbol of wise strength. The wolf, guardian of borders and a guide to other worlds. The falcon, messenger of the gods and symbol of freedom. The horse, a solar animal and helper of heroes. The snake, keeper of underground treasures and secret knowledge. And the deer, a guide between the worlds. Numerical symbolism permeated all aspects of life. The unit symbolized Rod the Creator. The duo represented opposites, good-evil, day-night. The triplet denoted the three worlds and perfection. The quartet signified the cardinal directions and stability. The quintet represented humanity and its connection to the elements. The sextet denoted harmony between the celestial and the earthly. The septet referred to the fullness of creation. The octet meant infinity and rebirth. And the nonet indicated the highest achievement on the spiritual path. Surprisingly, even ordinary household items in Slavic culture were filled with profound symbolic meaning. The stove was seen not just as a cooking place, but as the center of the home and a portal between worlds. The broom held the power of plants and could both clear a space and attract abundance. The threshold was considered the boundary between the private and the foreign world, and one should not greet or pass items through it. The Slavic tradition included a complex system of protective patterns. Rhombuses with hooks protected against evil forces, crosses in a circle attracted solar energy, wavy lines symbolized water and purification, spirals represented development and wisdom, and the meander, infinite pattern, signified the flow of life. Stars connected with heavenly forces, and birds represented freedom and links with higher worlds. Plant symbols held special power. The oak was associated with Perun and male strength. The birch represented female energy and purity. The rowan protected against dark forces. The fern opened secret knowledge. The thistle drove away evil spirits. The cornflower attracted love. Wormwood purified spaces, and the poppy guarded sleep. Surprisingly, the Slavs distinguished more than 16 types of magical knots. Each had its intended purpose. The happiness knot attracted good fortune. The strength knot provided energy. The wisdom knot aided in decision-making. The love knot connected hearts. The wealth knot drew prosperity, and the health knot healed ailments. The elements in Slavic tradition had their symbols. Fire was depicted as a triangle pointing upward, water as wavy lines, earth as a square or diamond, air as a spiral or bird, and ether, the fifth element, as a circle with a point in the center. Geometric symbolism was especially important. The circle signified the sun and protection. The square represented the earth and material world. The triangle indicated striving toward the sky and the trinity of the world. The cross symbolized the unity of the four elements, and the eight-pointed star represented harmony between the celestial and the earthly. Even metals carried special meanings. Gold symbolized solar energy and divine wisdom. Silver represented lunar force and purity. Copper signified feminine energy and healing. Iron indicated protection and male strength, while tin connected with ancestors and the past. Slavic amulets incorporated several levels of protection. Shape, for instance, a circle for protection. Material, silver for purification. Symbols, solar signs for luck. Color, red for life force. Incantation, for activation, and even the time of crafting on specific days of the year. Every time of day had its own patrons and symbols. Morning was associated with the rising sun and new beginnings, symbol, bird. Day with active deeds and strength, symbol, solar disk. Evening with the completion of tasks and reflections, symbol, setting sun. And night with hidden knowledge and communication with spirits, symbol, moon and stars. Imagine that every month of the year for the Slavs had its unique character and set of symbols. January, Prosinets, was symbolized by the wolf in blue color. February, Liutin, by the bear in gray. March, Berezozol, by the birch in green. April, Tsveteni, by birds in pink. May, Travin, by blooming herbs in yellow. And June, Chervin, by the sun and red. The astonishing system of Slavic holidays formed an annual cycle of power. Kolyada, winter solstice, opened a new solar cycle. Maslenitsa awakened nature. Kupala, summer solstice, filled the world with magical power, and Osenany completed the harvest cycle. Each holiday had its symbols: solar wheels, scarecrows, wreaths, ritual bonfires. In Slavic tradition, there existed a teaching about the 9 heavens: the first heaven, the visible sky; the second, the starry one; the third, the solar one; the fourth, the lunar; the fifth, the planetary; the sixth, the heaven of spirits; the seventh, the heaven of ancestors; the eighth, the heaven of gods; and the ninth, the abode of Rod. Each heaven had its color, sound, and symbol. Magical tools of the Slavs amaze with variety. Drums for communicating with spirits, round with elemental symbols. Staffs for managing energies, with carved runes. Bowls for rituals, with solar signs. knives for ceremonies, with special patterns on the blade, and spinning wheels for weaving fate with magical markings. The Slavic system of charms included nazi, knot amulets, overlays, metal decorations, drawings, painted symbols, incantations, verbal formulas, notches, carved signs, rubbing, special compositions, namely, charged stones, and navazi, herbal amulets. Incredible as it may seem, the Slavs distinguished 7 types of power: Yav, manifested power; Navi, hidden power; Prav, divine power; Slavi, ancestral power; Divi, natural power; Tverdi, earthly power; and Speri, heavenly power. Each type corresponded to its symbols, colors, and rituals. The system of measurements among the Slavs was linked to the human body and natural cycles. A span, the distance between the thumb and forefinger; an elbow, from the elbow to the fingertips; a fathom, the span of arms; and a verst, the time taken to walk to rest. Each measure had its symbol and magical significance. Slavic masters created special singing stones, resonators tuned to specific natural frequencies. They were used in rituals, healing, and for connecting with higher powers. Each stone had its unique pattern tuning and color code. In the tradition, there existed a doctrine of 144 natural powers, 12 months, x 12 elemental spirits in each. Each power had its symbol: day of power, color, plant, mineral, and special spell for summoning it. Slavic healing systems involved working with 7 main energy centers of the body: Rodnik, top of the head, connection with the cosmos; Kelo, forehead, wisdom; Glasnik, throat, self-expression; Zhivnik, chest, love; Selekni, navel, strength; Rodovoi, lower abdomen, creativity; and Korin, base, connection with earth. Each center had its color, sound, symbol, and herbs for activation. Few know, but there existed a complex system of Slavic mudras, special finger positions for managing energy: Perun's mudra for strength, Veles mudra for wisdom, Mokosh's mudra for destiny, Lada's mudra for love, Dajdbog's mudra for healing. Each mudra was accompanied by a specific spell and breathing. Slavic runes etchings formed a complex system of 144 signs, 16 main, elements, 32 auxiliary, nature, 48 ancestral, ancestors, and 48 divine, higher powers. Each rune had a direct and reverse meaning, color code, day of power, and special activation method. The astounding system of Slavic dance rituals included round dances, sunward for attraction, against for purification; jumps, for connecting with the earth; turns, for changing consciousness; stomps, for protection; and arm swings, for energy management. In the tradition, there existed a teaching about 16 sacred groves: oak, Peruns; birch, Ladas; linden, Mokoshes; rowan, protective; juniper, purifying; ash, wisdom; maple, power; and alder, transitional. Each grove had its own system of rituals and symbols. The Slavic system of color healing distinguished 49 shades of basic colors: 7 red, from pink to crimson; 7 blue, from sky blue to indigo; 7 green, from salad green to emerald, and so on. Each shade had its healing effect and method of application. There was a complex system of Slavic mantra spells: protective for safety, attracting for abundance, purifying for health, connecting for love, enhancing for growth, revealing for development, and closing for completion. Each mantra had its rhythm, tonality, and timing for recitation. The system of Slavic knots included life knots, 9 types; strength knots, 12 types; wisdom knots, 16 types; love knots, 7 types, protection knots, 4 types, destiny knots, 3 types, and creativity knots, 5 types. Each knot was tied in a special way at a specific time. Slavic masters created special resonant vessels from clay, wood, and metal, tuned to natural cycles, daily, lunar, solar, and planetary. These vessels were used for storing charged water, oils, herbs, and crystals. In Slavic tradition, there existed a unique system of working with the elements through special natural places of power: fiery, volcanic springs, lightning strikes; watery, springs, waterfalls; earthly, caves, mountains; airy, high hills, open plains; and ethereal, places of crossing energy flows. Each place had its own ritual for visiting and activation. Remarkably, the Slavs distinguished 27 types of sacred waters: living for healing, dead for purification, silver for protection, gold for strength, honey for love, dew for youth, storm for energy, snow for purity, spring for wisdom, and others. Each type of water was enchanted in a special way and used at specific times. The Slavic system of home amulets included door frames with solar signs, stove flaps with protective symbols, thresholds with protective runes, lintels with ancestral signs, roof ridges with god symbols, corners of the house with protective knots, windows with special patterns, doors with enchanted loops. There was a complex system of ritual breads: karavai for weddings, kulich for spring holidays, blinis for memorials, pies for guests, kozulia for winter holidays, and javaronki for spring rituals. Each type of baked good had its own patterns, shape, and method of preparation. The Slavic system of musical instruments impresses with its diversity: guzli for communicating with the heavens, drums for working with spirits, flutes for invoking elements, horns for weather control, rattles for space purification, bells for protection, and vargans for traveling between worlds. In the tradition, there existed a teaching about the 108 forces of the year, 9 main holidays, x 12 months. Each force had its day, ritual, offering, spell, and activation method. It was believed that knowledge of all the forces of the year granted the ability to manage time and destiny. The Slavic system of games included ritual competitions: wrestling for strength, hide and seek for invisibility, fire games for agility, lapta for reaction, town games for accuracy, swings for connecting with the sky, and circle dances for unity. Each game had its own rules and magical significance. The astonishing system of Slavic paints was made from natural materials: ochre, earth, cinnabar, minerals; blue, plants; green, herbs; black, charcoal; white, chalk; crimson, bark. Each color had its method of production and application in rituals. There existed a special system of ritual braiding: sashes for protection, wreaths for festivals, mats for meditation, baskets for offerings, nets for catching spirits, dolls for rituals, and mats for ritual spaces. Each item was created according to special rules using spells. Imagine the starry sky above an ancient Slavic settlement, where each star tells its own story. Our ancestors did not just gaze at the celestial bodies, they read in them the great book of wisdom passed down from generation to generation. They knew the cosmos was not just empty space, but a living organism, pulsing in rhythm with earthly life. Each heavenly body had its own character, mood, and influence on earthly happenings. Slavic astronomers could spend hours observing the movements of celestial bodies, crafting complex maps and predictions that helped plan important events in community life. Astoundingly, the ancient Slavs created such an accurate system of astronomical observations that they could predict not only the weather for the coming days, but also climatic changes for years ahead. They used special observatories, consisting of stone circles or wooden structures with precisely calibrated proportions. In the center of such an observatory typically stood a sighting post, while around it were markings corresponding to important astronomical events. This allowed them to determine the exact dates of solstices, equinoxes, and other significant celestial phenomena, which was critically important for planning agricultural tasks and conducting rituals. Did you know that the Slavic system of constellations differed significantly from our familiar Greek system? Instead of Greek mythological figures, the Slavs saw images from their everyday lives and beliefs in the sky. The Big Dipper for them was the elk, Orion was called the rake or the yoke, and the Pleiades were known as the hairpins, named after the celestial spinners who, according to beliefs, spun the threads of human destinies. Each constellation had its own legend, character, and influence on earthly affairs. For example, the appearance of the constellation Kola, the North Star, in a certain position signified the commencement of important agricultural activities. Surprisingly, the Slavic astrologers developed a complex system of interconnections between celestial bodies and earthly events. They identified special heavenly hours, periods when certain constellations were in the most favorable position for carrying out various tasks. There were special tables of correspondences where each constellation was attributed certain properties and influences. For example, the passage of the moon through the constellation Lynx was considered favorable for hunting, while the conjunction of Venus with the constellation Swan foretold a good time for weddings and romantic endeavors. The magic of the stars was closely intertwined with the everyday life of ancient Slavs. They believed that every person was born under the protection of a specific constellation that influenced their character and destiny. Special rituals of star baptism existed, where a newborn was shown their protective star. It was believed that this established a special connection between the individual and their celestial protector. The Volkvi could read a person's destiny based on the positions of the stars at the moment of their birth, using a complex system of signs and correspondences for this. And did you know that the Slavs distinguished not only visible stars, but also entire energetic streams between them? They imagined the cosmos as a vast web of power lines through which stellar energy flowed. These currents were called heavenly rivers, and experienced Volkvi knew how to use their strength for various magical practices. It was believed that on certain days of the year, these currents became especially powerful, creating perfect conditions for conducting important rituals and ceremonies. Interestingly, the ancient Slavs created a unique system of star maps, special patterns that were applied to ritual objects, clothing, and even the walls of their homes. These patterns did not just replicate the arrangement of constellations, but served as antennas, tuned to specific cosmic frequencies. Each pattern had its purpose. Some protected against negative influences, others attracted good fortune, and others aided in healing. Modern researchers still find these symbols in ancient embroidery and wood carving. Let's take a moment to reflect on how deeply our ancestors understood the connection between the earthly and the cosmic. They knew that every significant event on Earth has its reflection in celestial phenomena. For example, the appearance of a comet could foreshadow important changes in the life of the community, while specific planetary alignments indicated favorable times for undertaking important tasks. This knowledge was passed down through generations via oral traditions and special ritual songs. Friends, we have embarked on an incredible journey into the world of ancient Slavic astronomy and cosmology. We have learned how our ancestors understood the structure of the universe, how they used knowledge of the stars in everyday life, and the crucial role celestial bodies played in their worldview. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Many more captivating stories about the wisdom of our ancestors await us. Leave your comments, share the video with your friends, and see you soon in the next episodes.